Hello everyone, I am Death Knight and welcome to my first tutorial video on the 001 game creator engine, or 001, whatever you'd like to call it. Originally I planned to make these for myself, but I thought if even one person out there could make use of them, then why not post them up. During the course of the video I will be pausing momentarily sometimes, whether it's to cough, sneeze, gather my thoughts, drink water, do whatever. So if you ever see my mouse teleport from one side of the screen to the other, like this, or if you ever see the time on the bottom left change, it's because I probably paused the video. The time now is 1 AM, the day is the 20th of March 2021, and this video will be about tilesets. We're gonna import an art asset into the engine and see if we can get the Terraformation worked out on it, and by the end of the video we'll have a resource exported that we can use in any project we want to make. I have a highlight on my mouse, I think it's yellow, in order to see it better when the background is white, and if I left click it like this, it'll show an expanding red circle. If I right click, it'll show a blue one. Before we start, I wanted to show the website for the engine. It's 001gamecreator.com. It is a paid engine, as you can see, $80 as of now. They do have a trial you can download and check it out. I will say this isn't the best option out there if you are thinking about which engine to choose. There are a lot of engines like the Godot engine and even Game Maker. I believe Godot is an open source engine. You don't even have to pay anything. It is more powerful. I think it has its own coding language though. So be aware of stuff like that. I have my own reasons for choosing this engine. Mainly nostalgic factors, because I used it when I was a teenager. It was my first one. And I really like the graphical way they have of coding. I'm absolutely allergic to writing out code by hand, and I love using graphical methods to code. If you scroll up to the top, this Learn tab has their documentation in it. It is not the most in-depth, but I do recommend you read it if you plan on using the engine. Then again, if you are gonna be trying to learn something, it might be better to spend your time in one of the other engines like Godot and learn the language there. It might be a better use of your time. They do have a Steam version, which is the one I will be using, and they do update the engine regularly. I think the last update wasn't a long time ago. Let's see if we can find out when. Update history. Yeah, March 15th, 5 days ago, was when the latest update came out. Now, this engine doesn't have a lot of documentation out there, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this. It has some guides in text scattered around on Steam. It has some videos online on YouTube, but the best documentation actually that exists for it is a book, which costs money for some reason. One of them is about the basics, and the other is about resources. $30. Apparently the Kindle version or a digital version is $25. I don't know why they don't have this as a free asset for their developers. If I were them, I'd be doing everything I can to get the word out about the engine I have and anything that could help my creators or propel them forward. Give them a head start or an easier time learning the engine is something I definitely put out there for free. Humble Bundle, I wanted to mention does have a lot of game dev assets put up frequently. One of them actually contained the 001 game creator engine along with those two books I just showed you. And the asset we're gonna be using today I actually got from a humble bundle from 2018. So I don't know if subscribing to their email listing shows you specifically stuff about game development. I don't know if it's possible to set that up, but it's just something to consider. I think they've been releasing game development related stuff since 2015 was their first one. Now the asset I mentioned that I'm gonna be using from a humble bundle I got is from this video game artist. His name's Daniel Thomas. This is his about page on his website. This is the website up here. The reason I went with him is because I resonated with the kind of 2D art he had, and it is good. If you check out his itch.io page, he has been, for example, 1 year ago, people are reaching out to him, seeing if they can contact him to make art for them. And I believe if you sort by popularity on the game dev market, you'll find his stuff somewhere along the top, for 2D at least. This is exactly the one we'll be using today, the grassland tile set. And that's it for now. So let's open up the engine through Steam, like I said. Let's create a new game. We're gonna be doing a blank template. Now, the proper way to use this engine, I guess, would be to use their action RPG template. And once you get familiar with that, see how the graphical coding works and the assets that are available, you can use them to make your own game really quick. And then you'd see if this engine is something you'd like to continue to work with moving forward. Nothing popular or famous has been released commercially, maybe even non-commercially with this engine as of now. But then again, I think as of now, neither has the Godot engine, even though it's gaining a lot of popularity. The reason we're gonna go with a blank template is because all the assets provided in the action RPG template is gonna be confusing for us. So if you wanted to use if you don't want to use a sword in your game, why would you want a sword asset and code for it flying around when you're not gonna use it? So let's name this blank template Tileset Practice 1. Click on OK. It tells you this is intended for experienced users because it won't have templates. One of them is actually character movement, so we're gonna ignore that for now. Here we'll find beginner guides. I think these take you to Steam. Most of these links will take you to Steam. Steam guides. You can see your recipes over here. I guess there are about a few guides. You can go through them if you want. There are YouTube videos as well. Some of them are pretty old by now. Now, it might be a little bit intimidating at first seeing all these icons in front of you. So I want you to forget anything that I don't talk about and just focus on anything I talk about. Here at the bottom left, you'll find a button that's used to make a new map. We're gonna go ahead and click on it. The display name, we're just gonna name it Grasslands 1. And then we have 3 axes in the game, X, Y, and Z, or Z. And this is asking you how many tiles would you like in each. It does state that each tile is going to be 32 pixels wide, 32 pixels high, and it's going to be the same for the Z-axis. Let's use 30, and we're gonna keep the z-axis the same. Ignore everything else for now. Click on OK. I do have the engine in dark mode. If you click on the top, I guess it's options. Let's check. Yeah, in the options, the dark user interface theme option is right here. You can enable it if you'd like to have the theme be easier on your eyes, since you're going to be working with it for a while. Now, in front of us is the void, the black void, of course. This is the first thing we want to get rid of, because the map is where our characters are placed, our objects, our tiles, aka our world, and all the interactions happen right here. If you look over here, where my mouse is, and point at the first square, the first tile in the top left, you'll see a bunch of zeros. If I move one slot to the right, one of the numbers changed to 1, so the engine does start counting from 0. The first tile is 0, the one next to it on the right is 1, the one after that is 2. Same thing if I go down on the y-axis, it starts counting 1, 2, and then if I go to the one between them, this tile is 1, 1. It does say 32 by 32, so if I go one more square to the right, one of them changes to 64. This is the total width to the edge of the square you have highlighted right now. So what do the 32 numbers mean? Well, let's open up Paint real quick. 32 is referring to pixels. A pixel, I'm zooming in by holding control on my keyboard and using my mouse wheel to scroll. A pixel is the building block of everything we see in front of us, everything we're gonna see in front of us in the game we're gonna make. And a bunch of them, this is at 700% zoom right now. Once you use a bunch of them and you zoom out, it'll typically form some sort of picture. So this little guy right here is just made of a bunch of squares, and when you zoom out it kind of looks more defined. Each tile in the game is made out of a row of these squares, 32 pixels, 32 of them, and a column of 32. And that makes up the square in the game. So, back to the game. If you want to move around the map like I'm doing right now, I'm just holding the middle button, the middle mouse button down. You can also use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. The zoom percentage is shown up here. Right now we have the draw button selected. This is the first one I mentioned. If you click on point, this stuff on the left changes. So if you have draw selected, this is what you'll be seeing on the left. It's gonna be a floor tab, lower objects, upper objects, and walls. Let's stay on the floor tab for now. Go ahead and click on this tree icon up top. This is the Tilesets icon. And in here we're gonna click on Add Resource. And there we have a new tileset. Let's rename it to Grasslands 1. You can see the scripting ID changes when you change the display name. The scripting ID is the name the coding uses to bring up this tileset. So this is the name used in coding, and this is just the display name. We have a bunch of layers over here. We're gonna keep it on ground for now, and we'll explain what the other ones mean later. Ignore everything else on the screen for now. So, we have an asset, an art asset, and we need to get it in the game. If you look at the top right over here, Tileset Extractor, click on that. And you're gonna see a scale here. Now, the tileset we're going to be using is made to be 128 pixels by 128 pixels. So we can go ahead and change this to 128, and then we're gonna click on insert, and I'm just gonna choose the normal grassland colors from the tileset we have. Give it a second here. There it is. So I'm gonna maximize the window. To put something in the tileset itself, all you have to do is left click and drag an area. Then when you go to the tileset extractor, if you click anywhere, it'll take the same area on there. Then when you X out, that art will be over here on the screen. You might notice that this box won't fit everything we have in the set we imported. So up here in style, you'll see it's currently set to flipping. Let's change that to expanded, and that gives us a lot more room. But it disables flipping. What is flipping? We'll talk about that later. So what I want to do now is click and drag the whole area, go back to our tileset extractor, and click on the top left corner. Now when we X out, all of it is going to be here on the screen. What I want to do is select everything except the bottom row. Let's go ahead and right click, and we're gonna cut. Now go ahead and select everything except the top row and then paste. This will cause us to lose that last row over here, but we don't care about that for now. Now let's save in the bottom right and then go back to our map by clicking OK. Right now we do have everything we need to create an environment. So let's talk about the drawing tools. We have pencil selected. If we click on a tile, we can start drawing on the map, as you can see. If you click on this filled rectangle, you can fill a rectangle on the map. It's kind of reminiscent of paint tools. This is a triangle that isn't filled. You have the same thing but circles, a filled and a non-filled circle. You have lines, and you have the bucket fill tool, which will fill a whole area. Now you can use an eraser with any of these. So we have the eraser selected with the fill bucket. So if you click anywhere, it'll delete that area. Let's go ahead and paint the whole map with this grass color. And there we have it. No more black void. We can go into more detail. So if I click and drag up here, I can use the pencil tool to draw. If you click Ctrl Z on the keyboard, you will undo. So Ctrl Z on the keyboard undoes anything you did last. If we wanted to, we can draw anything we might want right now. We do have the tools available, but as you can see, it might be painstakingly long to do if we want to have a whole map that we're gonna design and put the detail in tile by tile, especially when map sizes become bigger than what's available right here, right now. And this is the subject of this video, how to have the engine automatically draw this stuff for us without us having to click on each tile and design everything by ourselves. So if you right click anywhere, click edit, it should bring us back to our tileset. Here it is. As you can see in the editable selection, it says 128 by 128 pixels. If you click here, where we cut it from, it's a 0 by 0, so there's nothing in here. This will affect something later on, which I'm gonna talk about. For now, if we look at the art, you're gonna see that there's dirt that can be surrounded by this lighter colored grass. There's dark grass that can be surrounded by also that lighter colored grass. So we know that this grass color is gonna be what encases either our dirt or our darker colored grass. So let's go ahead and grab this tile, right click it, copy it. Let's put it on the top left corner. As you can see, the selection changed to 128 by 128. I'm gonna grab this one as well that has a bunch of blades, grass blades in it, copy it, put it in here. The engine itself does have an editor, so if you right click any tile and click on edit, you'll pull up the engine's editor. It does have a grid, so right now it's 128 box, so it's not showing. If we change it to 64, you can see 4 boxes, 32, 16, 8, and 4. So each one of these right now are a box of 4 pixels wide and 4 pixels high. You can actually draw your own pixels, and you can snap to grid if you wanted to do something like a selection. So this will select each of the boxes in the grid you chose on the left. You can see how I can move it around. Control Z on the keyboard undoes any changes you made. You can resize stuff, although I don't recommend doing that in this engine as you'll lose some quality. This will resize the canvas but keep the picture the same. And if you right click anywhere with your pencil tool, it will take that color for you, and now you can draw with it on your screen. These grass blades don't have a black outline around them, which is good because it kind of gives off the impression that the character can walk over them, whereas black outline stuff is better used for objects. So a pixel art game would only have a 16 by 16 grid art, and then they'd have the same stuff drawn out, but the blades of grass would look something like this, and when you zoom out it kind of looks like grass, but I guess it would be less defined than what we're doing right now. So I'm gonna exit and I'm not gonna save. Let's get on creating our first terraformation. We're gonna do the grass first. So if you click on this empty tile over here, down here there's Terraformation graphics. We're gonna change the amount to 1, and a new box pops up here. If you click on that one, you'll find even more boxes labeled concave and convex. It explains to you that the concave is how the tile will appear when it's surrounded by the chosen neighboring tile, which is over here and not chosen right now. If you click on help in the bottom right, it should take you to the 001 game creator website in the Tilesets section of the documentation, and it will scroll you down all the way to the Terraformation graphics. So this is the Tileset section under resources. If you go down to the tile Terraformation, you'll see this graphic over here, and each number is described in the bottom here. So, going back to the engine, let's X out for a second. Before we do that, convex is how the tile will appear when it is surrounding the neighboring tiles. Concave is the opposite. So let's do the concave first. On our graphic, we do have this section right here, which is the lighter colored grass surrounding the dark colored grass. Let's go ahead and copy this by right clicking and left clicking on copy. The grid we just copied, if you go into paint, I'm gonna decrease the size of this. Alright, I'm gonna Control V on my keyboard to paste what we just copied. If you look at the bottom, it says 384 by 384 pixels. So that's the amount of pixels we just copied in the engine. If we go to the Terraformation graphics and try to paste it in this area over here, it tells you provided this many pixels, we need a 96 by 96. What we can do is go ahead and go to paint, and then if you Control V, right click, resize, and then change by pixels, 96 by 96. If you have this clicked or selected, this one should change automatically. Click on OK. We have a new size over here. We can copy that, go back to the engine and paste it over here. If you right click any one of these tiles and click on edit, you'll see that this tile is a size 32 by 32 and we can't do anything to change the size. But we're dealing with a tile set of 128 by 128 pixels. So why did this happen? Well, it's because of this right here. When we copy a tile to another one over here that isn't empty, it changes to 128 by 128. But this one did not know we were using 128 by 128 grid. So let's go ahead and copy this grass, the dark grass, copy this tile, and we're gonna paste it on this tile. If you watch closely, you'll see that the Terraformation box disappeared. That's because anytime you copy one of these tiles to another one, it'll transfer everything, including the Terraformation graphics information. So if all you want to do is change the appearance of the tile, you would have to paste your art over here in the editable selection, not on the tileset itself. So let's be careful about that. Let's go ahead and add the Terraformation back to 1 and select this section of light grass surrounding the dark grass. Go back into the Terraformation, and now when we try to paste over here, it allows us to paste without telling us the selection is off, and we won't have to go and resize the graphic anywhere else. So you can see some stuff is starting to get drawn on the right side. There's still a lot of dark boxes though. So those dark boxes are what the convex part of this would fill. The convex part is the opposite of this box. It is a patch of light grass surrounded by dark grass. Do we have anything like that in our art? Yes, we do. These 4 tiles over here. Let's go ahead and select them. Copy them, go back into the Terraformation, and we're gonna paste them in the bottom over here where we have room for the four tiles. The engine is gonna use them to create these 4 boxes up top. Now the size of the black stuff on the right did decrease, but we still need this box right here. If we go to the documentation we had earlier, box number 14 is comprised of tiles 12, 13, 15 and 16's inner corners. So the inner corners of these four. Box number 5 is the outer corners of 1, 3, 7 and 9. Let's go back to the engine. If you'll notice, this box number 5 in the middle, it is not actually made out of the outer boxes of the Terraformation over here. That's because when we pasted our graphics, it already had a middle tile within it, and that's what the engine used to fill in this box over here. As for this one, it says it needs to be the middle corners of these four, but we know that they were made using the box in the bottom over here. So if we go ahead and right click the bottom and edit, I'm gonna snap to grid and I'm gonna choose the selection tool. Let's zoom in a bit. I'll change the grid to a 32 by 32, and we're gonna go ahead and grab 128 by 128 selection. You can see how much you grabbed in the bottom over here. So this selection that I grabbed by snapping to grid is 128 pixels by 128 pixels. Let's copy that, exit without saving, and paste this in the middle box. As you can see, it looks a lot better right now on the right. So what is our neighboring tiles? Well, if we click on this, if we try to choose one, you'll see that it's choosing 4 tiles at a time. Why is that? Well, it's because we have this tile on expanded. Let's go ahead and save real quick. And click on OK. If we click on this mushroom on the left, and I'm just gonna put one of them over here. The last two tools we didn't talk about, one of them is called flip horizontally and the other is vertically. So if I click on flip horizontally, you can see the preview behind my mouse is 2 big mushrooms on the right with 1 small one on the left. The opposite of what the art originally is. But if we try to click, it's still the same thing. That's the other thing that using an expanded tileset sheet causes. So if we go back to our tileset, let's change it back to flipping. It warns us that a lot of the tiles we pasted into this tileset will be lost. We're okay with that. We already used this part that we needed, and we lost everything else. Going back into the Terraformation, we can now choose our neighboring tiles, and they're gonna be these 2 patches of lighter grass that we pulled from here. So I'm gonna choose the solid colored one, and this is the one that has the blades of grass. If you want to see the one that has the blades of grass, click on it and click cancel. There it is. So you might see one more problem over here. This box right here, which got transferred from our art when we pasted this section, it doesn't look quite good. It's a square and it looks very wonky compared to the rest of the stuff we did. The documentation said that box number 5 is made up of the outer corners of 1, 3, 7 and 9. We know that the engine builds this bottom one out of those corners. So all we have to do is copy this bottom art we can try to paste it in the middle. It tells us it's too big, and that's when we can Control V in Paint and resize it to 128 by 128. Let's copy that, paste it back in, and now it should look a lot better when you place a singular tile in a sea of lighter grass. There we go. Let's X out and save our progress. And I'm gonna go ahead and save the project as well. I would recommend you save often after every few steps, as the engine is prone to crashing. Now you might be wondering what happened to our map. Well, when we swapped from expanded to flipping on our tileset, a bunch of tiles over here got relocated, and the ones we had originally became something else. So I'm just gonna fix this real quick. Use the fill tool and the filled rectangle, and now we're back to where we were. Going back, oh, we can test out the flipping. It should work theoretically right now. So normal mushrooms, flipped mushrooms. There it is. You can also flip them vertically and do both at the same time. Control Z on the keyboard, deselect these, back to the pencil tool, and now we can test our terraformation. So the tile we were working on was this one up here. This is a single patch. This is a small line, slightly longer, small line vertically, slightly longer. This is where they combine. Here is a patch of dark grass surrounded by light, and here is a patch of light grass surrounded by dark. So it works. Going back to the tileset, we can see that we have another patch of grass that has blades in it for the darker colored grass. Now, if we copy this tileset that we made, which has a terraformation in it now, and paste it to the right, it should transfer all the terraformation information. But instead of the solid colored grass, I do want the grass blades to show up. So I'm gonna copy them, go back to this tile, and in the editable selection over here, we're just gonna paste. Going back to the map, we can test this other tile we just made, and it works exactly the same way, except when there's an area with larger space, it'll start filling in that type of grass. This also works on this section we had over here. Had we earlier on, had we kept working with this type of tile and then tried to do this, it would actually draw these sides when you try to place a bladed grass inside a solid colored dark grass. So you always want to make sure that both tiles have the same setting over here. Alright, let's work on the dirt. We have a solid colored dirt here. Let's copy it, place it over here. It should change to 128 by 128. And then we're gonna have to make our own graphic, as the one provided to us is larger than what we need. I am going to choose the vanilla corner. One way to do this is to copy and when you go to add a terraformation, you can paste this corner in the top right, and then you can go into every single tile you want and put them in one by one. That would take longer than what I'm about to show you. We're going to be using these vanilla sides, this one, this one, this one, and that one, for the solid colored dirt. What we can do is grab this, copy it, grab the same amount of area down here, paste, wait, leave some room, paste. Let's do the same with this corner. This corner and vanilla side. And the final corner. Go ahead and select everything we just did, copy it, go into the Terraformation and paste it in this area over here. So the engine went ahead and filled in all these boxes for us. We remember that this box in the middle is made out of the outer corners of these 4 corners, which the engine created over here. Let's go ahead and copy this. Go to Paint, paste, resize it to 128 by 128. Copy it and place it in the middle. So that's it for the concave side. The convex side is the opposite. It'll be a patch of light grass surrounded by dirt. Do we have anything like that in our graphic? Yes, we do. Let's go ahead and copy it. Go back to the Terraformation, paste it at the bottom. And we know that the middle section over here is made out of the inner corners of these 4 boxes. So let's edit this bottom one. We're only gonna take 128 by 128 pixel part in the middle. So we grab the selection tool, snap to grid. I wanna show 64 by 64 tiles. We're gonna grab these 4 in the middle. Copy it, exit without saving, and paste that in the middle up there. So that filled up everything we need. Let's choose our neighboring tiles, solid colored light grass, and the same thing but with blades on it. Now, this section where it's a single tile that's placed on the map, it looks fine, but if you go ahead and look at the art, you'll find that there is a more artistic version with a patch of grass kind of growing in, 2 smaller patches of dirt in it. Let's go ahead and use that one instead of the one we made ourselves over here. So go ahead and copy this one and go ahead and paste it in the middle over here. And this is what it would look like when you terraform. That's it for the solid dirt terraformation. Let's save our project and our tileset. We can go ahead and test the dirt right now. It is this tile over here. Seems to work. This is one patch, slightly bigger patch. Here's a line, a patch of light grass surrounded by the dirt. And you might notice there are some stuff that doesn't look that good. So this square over here, kind of how you can see the edges over here. If that ever happens, you'll just have to design the map to where it doesn't show until I can figure things out, at least on how to avoid that with the art. Let's go back to the tileset. You can see that the art included some variation in the art. Now we can place this by hand, but we can also create terraformations for the variations. So go ahead and copy the dirt tile we just made and paste it right next to it. Now I'm gonna grab these top, bottom, right and left sides that have some grass that kind of crept in and put them on. Well, we can either place them one by one within the graphic, or we can do the whole thing where we copy paste this thing over here. Your call. I'm gonna do them one by one, and I'll pause the video and unpause it once I'm done with these 4. As I pasted the second one, everything here became white. If you X out, you can see all the tiles disappeared. We're just not gonna save anything. We're gonna exit the project without saving. Load it up again. And let's see the last point. Now, they do ask you if you want to submit the project for diagnosis. I think it's just a memory issue. And you can send the bug report over here. I went ahead and sent the bug report. But let's get back to our project. Let's see the last point where we were. I guess we will accept the autosave. Alright, back to the tileset. It looks like this is just the point before we copy pasted this tile. So I'm gonna create the terraformations with the 4 new sides and unpause the recording. See you in a bit. Alright, I just got done pasting these new 4 sides. This is how they would look like if you start drawing. You can really see the issues over here with the convex section. So you'd have to avoid doing anything like that. This is not a tile that you would draw with like that. It's just something you would use to pepper details into your map. So this plain dirt over here is made from this selectable section. If we go ahead and grab this patch of dirt that has grass on it and copy, we can paste it in this editable section. If you go ahead and look within the Terraformation graphics, all of those tiles will be filled with that patch of grass that we just pasted. But like I said, you wouldn't use this to draw like this. Let's go ahead and save our tileset and save our project. So if we use this new tile we created, we can still terraform with it, but the main use is when we have an area that we drew with the normal tile we'd be using. Now we can go ahead and grab this new variation and we can pepper in a detail like so, or at the top, right, bottom, left, and even something like this. The final thing I'm going to do is the last variation. I'm going to use this tile to be the selectable section. Let's go ahead and copy this so I can grab all the terraformations from it. And I'm going to use these 4 sides. This is the bottom one I'm going to be using. the left one, the top one, and the one on the right. I'll input those into this Terraformation, and I'll see you after I'm done. So this is what it looks like with the new side tiles. This is what the Terraformation looks like. Let's go ahead and change the final tile. I'm gonna copy this one. If I make the mistake of pasting over here, all my work will be gone. You want to paste this over here. Let's go ahead and save our tile set and test it out on the map. This is the tile we just made. You can pepper details in there. This is what the side looks like. Top, right side, and a bottom side. So this is quite a bit of customization that can be done easily and quickly. You wouldn't have to keep clicking on the one you want, peppering it in, then clicking on the other one. One thing I'm noticing is the dirt does have a texture in it. It is not a solid color. The same thing with the dark grass. You can choose to not do this if you want, but I am gonna change these into a solid color. So go ahead and right click on this one. I'm gonna edit this selection, and I'm gonna right click anywhere to grab one of the colors. I'm gonna snap to grid. It's already gonna choose the whole thing for me because I'm on 128. So I'm just gonna fill with, or rather, I'm gonna use a filled rectangle. And now this graphic's all the same color. I am gonna save this, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the dark colored grass. So right clicking it, edit, right click any of the lighter colored areas, fill, rectangle, snap to grid, and click. Now it's a solid color. Go ahead and save this, and we'll check back on the map. This is what it looks like now. One thing to note is if you place a tile on the edge of the map, this is what it looks like right now. Within the tile options, you can see it's terraforming on this side. This is Terraformation. So if we go back to the tile set, we can choose not to terraform on the edges of maps. So turning that off for all of them and saving the tile set. Now it looks okay on the edge of the map. It does not terraform. Now we're gonna save our project and go back to the tile set, and let's clear everything we don't need by right click and clearing. We can now export this tile set, and then whenever we create a new project in 001 Game Creator, we can go ahead and just import all the work we just did into any project we want to. So I'm just gonna export it as Grasslands 1. And that's gonna be it for this video. For the next one, I plan on making water tiles, and those will contain animation. So the next step is animated tiles. If I ever say anything wrong, or if you have suggestions on how I can be more clear, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.